most unusual one. What Mr. Scamander fears more than anything else in the world is...
having to work in an office, sir.
Go ahead, Newt.
Ridiculous.
I loved going back to Hogwarts, of course I did.
When I opened the script for Beast 2, and I just saw Hogwarts, I was really thrilled.
When I walked on and saw all the trunks and Hogwarts stickers and things like that, it's pretty amazing.
And then to have all the kids in their Hogwarts uniforms from the 1927 period was really great. And Jo came to visit and she was like, wow, you know, we're back in Hogwarts.
I think it expands the universe and brings it in some ways back closer to the Harry Potter world, which is great.
It was slightly odd out-of-body experience because I've watched with everyone else those classes, and suddenly to be in it, you're in there doing it, but then you look back as yourself and realise how special it was.
Hogwarts doesn't need to change a lot. That's the thing about magic. You don't need the latest wand. Their tools have remained the same for hundreds of years. So Hogwarts looks very familiar to anyone who saw the Potter movies. But obviously the teaching staff look different.
Professor McGonagall, the Stranger Studies again! Missy, it was the Stranger.
She's horrible, she did this, she did that, she did what?
I did nothing wrong.
Those names, the stories, the histories that sit in the back of our mind from the Potter series begin to weave their way into Beasts.
Coming back was an interesting one. Never thought we'd be using Hogwarts again when we finished on Deathly Hallows Parts 2. And of course, Deathly Hallows Parts 2, we completely trashed the school.
With Hogwarts, they built the whole castle digitally for the last film. It had been a model for the previous 7, but for the last film, because there was so much destruction, it was a digital build. So Tim went to dig it out of the archive.
Everything had to be upgraded. Everything had to be brought up to a higher resolution throughout Potter to hold up in this sort of new super resolution that we're all working in these days.
You want to keep the connection with what people know and love.
A unique thing was we had to create the Great Hall, and we knew that that wasn't going to be a physical build because it was one shot, so it was a digital build. What we were able to do was go in at midnight into the Warner's Harry Potter tour next door to the studio and scan the set. And I think it was somebody in the office who pointed out at the tour the gaps between the tiles are bigger and it's clean, as in all the Potter films it was dirty and dusty. So once we'd built it correctly, we then realised, oh no, it has to look slightly different than that, so we went back in and used all the films as reference.
You do get into one little nook of Hogwarts that you never saw before.
The stage direction, you describe it as a cupboard. Well, it's quite a generous cupboard, and it's where Newt begins to be interested in and collecting creatures. Compared with his later adventures, they're quite modest creatures, but it's a little secret place where he does exactly that.
What I love about Newt is he's true to himself. He is so full-hearted and passionate and brilliant, but it doesn't make him easy.
Do we know where we are? Do we know what classroom we're in? Do we recognise it? Yeah? Okay.
We're reconstructing the dark arts classroom.
On the last one, when we put all the set pieces away, unfortunately, we didn't have enough storage area, and the classroom, unfortunately, fell apart. It was the one set I couldn't save. The rest we saved. But that was a real pleasure to rebuild that, actually. We had the original drawings, we worked to the original spec, so we copied the original classroom.
Up there, and then I go bonk like that, and that'd be it.
To actually be there with a young Dumbledore, I mean, because all the people who occupied that room throughout the Harry Potter films had their own impact. The set decorator Stephanie McMillan and Stuart would give them their own elements. So Mad-Eye Moody had all these kind of lenses and eyeballs that could look, and you know, he was really kind of like paranoid, if you like. So whoever had it had their own influence.
To the back, Neville. Everyone form a line.
So we had to do a new version for young Dumbledore. So he's into his astronomy. So Pierre built this amazing telescope, this huge telescope, 15 foot high. So it's kind of a nod to, you know, where he's going. There's a telescope in his office.
and also retrieved some original pieces that were used in his office to populate his classroom. So this is just a couple of samples of some elements on his desk.
When you're in a classroom with the detail and the props, and even when you look out of a window, the backdrop, you know, the painted backdrop of what's to be seen through a window is there. It makes that little leap of the imagination for an actor very easy. The children in that scene were so thrilled to be there, and David constructed that scene. He gives the actors so much time to discover what they need to discover to make a scene their own and to feel natural and real. So it really felt like a class.
Oh, that's good, that's good. So we really need to sort of vocalise it a little bit. I want it to be as real as possible for me as it is for them. So it's always encouraging actors to be in the moment. And there's a lot of laughter and playfulness in each scene.
There they were, wide-eyed, thrilled to be, you know, in this familiar surrounding, the Defence Against the Dark Arts classroom. It's another chapter. There are wonderful little seeds planted of threads and characters that appeared in the Potter films. It really hints at more to come.